Hello and welcome to another episode of Who Knew in the Moment, the podcast. I'm your host, Phil Friedrich, and today I'm honored to have Markus Kaulius with me. Markus is the founder of Magnum Nutraceuticals, and he's an author of a great book. And one of the things I think you're going to take away from his story today is how if you can reflect on your past, you can understand how it leads to where you're at in the future. So Markus, thanks so much for being with me today.
Oh, Phil, I'm psyched to be here, man. We're going to have a great conversation. We're going to give people some real takeaways, some actionable goods. This is going to be a great day.
I have no doubts. So, Markus, to start your story, around 7, your parents got a divorce, and you just talked about how, kind of in that time frame and not necessarily having, both parents around was very pivotal for you. So, talk a little bit about growing up in that dynamic for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Ties in so perfectly. By the way, I love what your podcast is about. And it's something I love chatting with people about, helping people to reframe things. Because the truth is, in every situation when we look back, we can pull out the great stuff and go,
Mm,
you know what, here's what I learned from that, here's what I got from that. So even my parents' divorce, which of course I don't wish divorce on anybody, I don't wish that on children. That messed me up for decades.
mm,
For decades. We're not talking about years, we're talking about decades. My father was now out of the picture, but my mother had to go back to school full time and work full time. I essentially became orphaned that day.
mm.
But because of that, I had to learn independence. And it's so crazy. I had this conversation with someone just the other day, and they said at first, they were like, it's why I'm an entrepreneur. And I was like, oh, of course. Of course, the natural progression of someone who raises themselves is going to be an entrepreneur, because it's like, I don't want to work for other people. I want to do this for myself. I'll get it done. So that's just one of the tens of thousands of benefits of it. And
Yeah.
again, it doesn't mean I have to look back and go, I'm so glad my parents got divorced. I'm so happy that. No, we don't have to look back and go, I'm so happy that happened. But you can go, hey, I'm me. I'm all these things because of whatever happened to you. And I'm going to embrace that. I'm going to own that. Why not? Because the other way, if it serves you, that's one of my big questions. Is that serving you? Is that line
Mm.
of thinking serving you? Or are you trapped in the past? Are you held back by this lack of acceptance that it happened? Are you like, but my life would be different if it hadn't happened?
Mm.
But it did, my friend. So once you own it, you can now move forward and own the results of it. Isn't there anything good you can find that came from whatever you went through?
Mm. I love it. Now, speaking of going through things, as you got older, around 13 or so, you happen to have a growth spurt and you're a very tall person, something I can't relate to. But you know what? Sometimes being taller, significantly taller than people can be something that makes you stand out and be subject to bullying or criticism. So talk a little bit about that season for you and then finding your new personality or allowing yourself to be you.
I love this, by the way. You're leading so beautifully into like these decisions, these choices of how we want to look at things. So when I first had that growth spurt, I was 6'4", 120 pounds. Yes. Yes. It looked as good as you can imagine it looked. And I was so, I mean, at that age, of course, we're all nervous about how we look and embarrassed and all that. But of course, that attracted the bullies. And I believed everything that they said. And that height was now something to be embarrassed about. And oh, please don't look at me. I wish I was shorter and stuff. What? Imagine an adult saying, I wish I was shorter. And it's
Yeah.
like, why don't we just skip over the part where I'm not sure, I'm not sure? What if just everything was a gift? What if? Just what if we decided everything that happens to me is a gift? What would that look like? How would that serve me? And of course, that's where I came to over the years. Now, it took me time, and none of these things happen overnight. And it's like, oh yeah, now I'm happy about being tall. But I had this beautiful perspective shift one day, and it was truly a calling from God. It was just like, hey, what if you didn't have to listen to what the bullies say? What if none of that stuff was true? What if you got to just be who you wanted to be?
Mm.
And what would that look like? And would that serve you? And that was in an instant. I was like, oh yeah, okay, well, yeah, I do want to be a more confident guy. So what does a more confident guy look like? Well, shoulders back, chest up, eye contact, firm handshake. Yes, my name is Marcus and this is who I am. This is my height. And truly everything changed in an instant. And the whole world changed for me. Shocker, people accepted me for how I presented myself. So I hope people are listening, because you can change today. You can make a choice and go, you know what? I will present in a different way. And it was wild. One of my favorite quotes is from a girl that I started to date within a week of making that change, by the way. And it's so crazy that I was dating a girl, because girls won't even look at me before. And this was an actual quote from her. She goes, I've never met a guy with as much confidence as you who looked like you. Like, she was saying, you shouldn't be so confident, but you are, and it's awesome. And I just think that's so amazing, and just pinpoints perfectly this moment where, yeah, my body wasn't there, but my mind was. And then I made decisions to go, yeah, but you know what? I also want my body to be there. So if I want to always walk around like this and have the integrity of like, this is who I want to be, well, I want to have a better body. So what do I have to do? So through integrity, I was like, well, I gotta get my workouts in. I gotta start eating better. I gotta do all these things to take better care of myself so that I could be this guy one day.
Yeah. Now, as I hear you say that, and I'm, someone in the audience listening right now, they go, gosh, I would love to have that shift, but I tried that and my group just kept bringing me down, or my group didn't allow me to expand to who that version of myself I wanted to be. How do I get out of that situation, or how do I overcome that situation?
Phil, I love this, man. I feel like you and I are dancing right now, man. You are so good at what you do. So thank you for this, and thank you for leading.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna move when you tell me to move, brother. You know, this is again something I talk about all the time. You're running into something that everybody runs into, which is, I want to make these changes, but all the people around me, they all love McDonald's. None of them work out. You fill in the blank, and none of that comes from a place of hate or blame. This is mercy, people. Just recognize that when you want to grow, you've created space here and hung out with people here. That's natural, because that's where you guys were all comfortable. They're not comfortable here. You are going, I want to be up here, and this is where I want to be. You need to find people in this area. Now, I want to be really clear, because people hear this wrong. You don't have to go, hey, all you guys are bottom feeders now. I hate you guys. No, that's no good. But you also don't have to be like, guys, you have to come with me. Stop eating this way. We're all going to start working out. An invitation and some communication is so valuable here. So when I came home, I don't know how, you know what, God truly gave me the wisdom here, because I had conversations with some buddies. Not all of them were perfect conversations, but it essentially went like this. Guys, I'm going to start working out. I would love it if anybody wanted to join me. I'm going to start eating healthier. I'd love if anybody wanted to join me. And I'm going to be a different man. If you're not willing to accept me as that different man, we might spend less time together. And I don't hate you. I don't blame you. I get it. You knew the old me for a long time, but that's not me anymore. And I don't want to be that person anymore. And there were a bunch of people who fought it hard. They're like, no, 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 you're not that guy. I'm like, with all due respect, why do you want to keep me in the past? I just told you, actually, I've told you many times now, I don't like that guy. So I'm sorry, but if you aren't willing to change, then I'm going to be changing the people I spend my time with. And you have to bring more people into your life. This is a really simple equation, everybody. Think about it. If you hang out with a bunch of people who love working out and who love eating right, guess what's going to happen to you over the next few weeks or months? You're going to start liking working out. You're going to start liking eating right, because it's just natural in this group. But if all your buddies go, I don't like to work out, and yes, we're going to go to the bar every night, we're going to drink every night, we're going to have McDonald's every night, that's who you're going to be. So you got to make that choice. And I love this one. We are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Really think about that. So if
Yeah.
your 5 are all dragging you down and your 5 are all have attributes and characteristics that you don't like, you need to start looking for a new 5 immediately.
Mm.
Again, you don't have to shun them. You don't have to push them out of your life, but it goes with anything in your life, any characteristic. You hang out with 5 people who cheat on their wife. I don't know how long you have, but if I was a betting man, I'd say you're going to have a wandering eye because your best 5, your 5 friends are like, it's not that big of a deal. How long until you think it's not that big of a deal?
Mm.
But if you hang out with 5 people who are like, are you kidding? I worship my wife. My wife is my one and only. Guess what? Your eyes start to go, oh yeah, my wife is my one and only too. I don't know about you, but I'm choosing the latter. That's the guy I want to be. Those are the guys that I hang out with.
I love it. Now, once again, Marcus, we're only at about like 15 years old for you in your story, right? And so a question I have is, your dad, once again, and mom are divorced. So not necessarily a big representation in your life. Were there mentors or people that, growing up you kind of looked to, or once you started working out that maybe took you under the wing at a gym, or any coaches, people that, were male figures in your life? Or are these just things that Marcus figured out?
So there's a bit of a blend here.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm going to say to people, if you can find a mentor, go after it. Go after it hard. Mentors help you skip years, decades, because they've been there, they've done that, they've been on the path. They can just show you, hey, come this way. No, don't go left, go right. Good,
Yeah.
keep coming. So I had one mentor at the age of 15. His name was Tony Robbins.
Mm.
Actually, his name was Anthony Robbins at the time. Tony Robbins, I was just so blessed. He was this father figure to me. Now, I didn't know him, he didn't know me, but I knew him because of his tapes and his books. And by the way, in that is a really golden nugget, because people hear, oh, you've got a mentor, you got Tony Robbins. Well, I could never get Tony Robbins. Yes, you can. You go out and you buy his book. Actually, you
Yeah.
don't have to go out. You go ahead and order his book. It'll be here tomorrow. And boom, he's your mentor. Books, podcasts, that's how you get mentors. One of my best mentors right now, who is radically changing my life, is Ed Milet. I consider him a friend. I pray for him. I love him. I love his family. I haven't met him yet. I will meet him this year. But man, has this guy had an impact on my life. Now, going back to Tony, I'm 15 years old, desperate for father figures. Now you get this huge guy with this big, manly Tony voice.
Yeah.
And he's speaking exactly what I needed to hear. He's teaching me these lessons, a lot of, similarities to what I've already spoken on the show, which is, hey, are those thoughts serving you? Just
Mm.
ask that question. Being stuck in the past and like, oh yeah, but Phil, you don't understand, man. I can't do this because of this. I can't. Okay, just pause for 1 second. If that's working for you, then go ahead and keep doing it. Just tell me, what were the benefits of you thinking that way?
Yeah.
Where do you get ahead? You maybe like the victim mentality. People go, oh, Marcus, I'm so sorry for you. I hate that. I don't want that in my life at all. You can keep all your pity. That pity keeps me in the ground, fearful, locked from moving, and zero success. I had zero success in any aspect of my life. But as soon as I started to have this mindset of, you know what, I'm going to let all that go. I'm just going to focus on positive stuff. I'm going to take the pieces of my story and I'm going to use them for my benefit. They will always serve me. And if they don't, then I need to change the story again.
Mm.
Oh man, if you can learn to do that, and by the way, it doesn't happen overnight. This is a daily process. You have to train your brain. Do you know how crazy the studies are on our thoughts? Do you know 80 to 90% of our thoughts are the exact same thoughts as they were yesterday and the day before and the day before? Oh, that's horrifying. We've got a broken record. And of those 80 to 90%, 80 to 90% of those are negative thoughts. Oh, man. So if you are just going to let the record play, I'm sorry, you are screwed. You have to listen to these statistics and look at the people who are doing something, going somewhere with their lives that excites you and interests you. Again, if you're happy where you are, I'm not going, you gotta move. No, if you're happy where you are, you stay right where you are. But if you're listening to this, then I know you're not. I know you're going, hey, I might be happy where I am, but I want to grow even more. I want to get ahead even more. Awesome. You're who I'm talking to. So find ways to take your stories, change them, rework what you're hearing in your brain. There's a whole bunch of techniques to change that voice, change the patterns, make them more positive so that they serve you. And when you start having these thoughts that serve you and you act on them, your whole world changes.
I love it. So to begin your entrepreneurial journey then, Marcus, at 16, you're getting into this health fitness game and you go, well, you know what? Maybe I should be a smoothie guy. And talk a little bit about the smoothie business and starting a business in a teenage year.
So, brother, first of all, you do great research, man. So, yes, I'm late 16, and my brother comes to me. Now, my brother and I have had almost no relationship in our lives up until about 2 years ago from today. But
Wow.
even then, he came to me and he needed a face for his business. So he said, hey, Marcus, you want to be in business together? I was like, sure, yeah, I want to be an entrepreneur, yeah. So we got these smoothies that we're going to be bringing in from the US. It was called Dr. Smoothie, and it had a great logo. And I'm like, let's do this. So I was the face of this, and I loved it. I had so much entrepreneurial learning, including one of my favorite things I ever did, and it's in so many awesome sales books. I had an Explorer at the time, the Ford Explorer, and I was going on my first big road trip to do sales. We filled it to the brim with smoothie. I mean, we were pulling it out of boxes and shoving it into the little crevices. And the deal was I wasn't allowed to come home until the Explorer was empty. Wow, does that change everything? You're taking away your safety net. There is no backing down. This is like, I have to go forward. And it made me adapt my sales pitch so quickly. If there's ever an opportunity for you to do something like that, just do it. At the very least, you're going to have a great story to tell. Yeah. I would go in, and when I would get no's, I was like, no, you don't understand. I can't take your no. I'm not allowed to go home. Now, I wasn't speaking out of desperation, but I was like, can we create a win-win situation? So here's the deal. I'm not allowed to go home until that truck is empty. I know this product is going to do so well for you. So how do I get you to a yes? And here I am, the 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid, just like begging. And I'm not afraid to beg. I figured out ways to get the yes.
I love it. So somebody listening right now is saying, hey, I'm in sales, or they're starting to realize that just getting to a yes, regardless of if you have a sales role or not, is a very important thing. And you're compounding, right? So you take the smoothie experience and then you pivot this, we'll just say sales experience, into selling supplements from your college dorm room. So talk a little bit about, getting to yes and taking these lessons you're learning, and how to your point earlier, maybe I can speed up the process from what I learned in one experience to the next one.
Awesome. So I stood back when in the smoothie business, and I started to question, how am I going to make more money? How am I going to make the kind of money I want to make? And this is where it's really important to relook at your goals every once in a while. And I just don't think people do this nearly enough. We set goals at some point in our lives. And the craziest part that I've learned about myself, most of my goals were set when I was like 7 and 8 years old. Like, hey,
Yeah.
here's what success will look like. That's nuts. And
Yeah.
it's so crazy. You might go, what are you talking about? I would challenge anybody to look at a bunch of their goals. And like, for me, here's one that I bet you a bunch of people will resonate with. I always thought, hey, when I have money, I'm going to get myself a Ferrari. Why? Why Ferrari? Well, because there was this beautifully mustached man when I was younger in a Hawaiian shirt who would wear the Hawaiian shirt, save the ladies, save the day, and he was always driving around in a Ferrari. Yes, his name was Magnum PI, and he was super manly, and I thought he was the most awesome, and he was a cool father figure. And so to me, success meant you got to drive one of those Ferraris. I only recognized about 5 years ago, I was 40 years old at the time, when I'm like, oh man, that is why I like the Ferrari. That is so silly. Now, there are so many things that we do that we set when we were 7 or 8 years old. And that can be really dangerous too.
Mm.
Like there was some weird stuff that I had to uncover. So to go back to your question, I'm doing the smoothie business. I'm making pennies. And I was like, no, now I want to take what I've learned and I want to use it for something much better.
Yeah.
And I loved supplements. I loved working out. And because I loved supplements and I loved working out, I was always nosing the book on the internet, trying to find what was what. And so people quickly started to come to me. They were like, hey, you know everything about supplements. What do you think I should be taking? Blah, 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 blah. And it took me 2 seconds to go, wait a minute, why am I not selling these things?
Yeah.
And so it was just boom, in an instant, I had a supplement business. And in my bedroom, I invested every penny I had at that time. I had $15,000 of supplements on my bedroom wall. And buddies would come by and they'd sit on my bed and I'd describe them, here's what you want to take, how to take it. I was truly a healthy drug dealer for a bunch of years. And people would bring their other buddies by. They'd be paging me at all hours of the night. Yes, a pager was a thing. It's dating me, that's okay. And that was amazing. And so that was that transition and that progression. And that's a step where I really encourage people, no matter where you're at in your life, just to sit back and go, hey, am I truly happy and fulfilled where I am? Am I making the money I want to make? Do I have the freedom? This is really important. It's not just about the money. I meet so many guys, I work with so many guys, and I love working through this with them. It's not just money. It doesn't take long and enough dollars for you to go, oh crap, money is not the only definition of success.
Yeah.
So let's skip ahead a little bit and go, hey, what if you could make money but also feel fulfilled and still have your health and still keep your relationships? Now we're talking about real success.
Mm. I love that. Now, as somebody, who has probably had the different maybe at times of identity in their life, and we'll get to selling a business at some point here yet today, but I think so often we can wrap our identity with, well, if I could just make $100,000, right, if I could just make 200,000, whatever that number is, and then to your point, you get to that moment and it doesn't quite feel like you thought it would have. So is there anything other than just buying people's stories when they say, having the goal of making money is just not enough, that people can be doing in their pursuit of growing and finding purpose for their lives?
This is so good. Why don't I encourage everybody to start by getting into conversations with people who are making that money and who are making more than that money. I'll happily have that conversation with you, everybody. I have literally never come across somebody whose sole definition of success had to do with finances, which, by the way, there's a huge percentage of people who had that definition. They got to the number and then they felt satisfied. They felt fulfilled. They felt like they had done it. Not once. And I'm talking about thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of human beings I've spoken with who all had the same answer. There will never be enough money. If you are chasing money as your sole focus, as your sole, this is success, you will never have enough money. And every time they got to that number and they're like, well, that's not enough. And I thought this was going to feel better. I thought there was going to be something more. So let me have that conversation with everyone right now. Not having purpose, and I mean real purpose, like purpose beyond you, serving others, using your gifts, your talents, your money to be in service to someone else, to lift someone else up. One of the things you're going to recognize really quick as you lift someone else up, as you serve other people, it's like, oh, that felt like 1,000 times better than anything I do for myself. There
Yeah.
are only so many spa sessions. There are only so many rounds of golf you can have trying to find happiness before you should recognize, okay, this isn't it. Now, it doesn't mean you have to give up golf. It doesn't mean you have to stop going to the spa. I personally love both of those things. But it's in between the times when I'm out there trying to serve people and find what purpose I am actually on this planet. What am I really supposed to be doing with my time here? Who have I been designed to be? Where am I supposed to be using these talents where the world needs it most?
I love that. Well, as you talk about having impact, right? So you're helping people on the physical side, and that could be people were wanting to get strong and ripped like yourself. It could be people that were wanting to lose weight, right? To maybe be able to interact with their kids or live longer, whatever it was. And so I'm sure that brought a lot of purpose. Now, I think the other part, though, that I'd be curious to hear your perspective on is the the supplement itself wasn't enough, right? It's one piece of the pie, right? It can help the workout be more intense, or maybe you can go for longer. Or if you are actively, trying to lose weight, it might be able to help you, suppress some of your hunger, whatever the supplement does. But it's just one piece of it. So talk about being one piece of it, knowing it's not the full solution for the person.
You're incredible, brother. Really appreciate you and what you're doing. So you're so spot on. And I recognized it so early in
Mm,
myself first. I was
mm,
like, okay, supplements are awesome. But if you don't have the mindset, no supplement, no diet, no exercise is really going to work for you. And what I saw for decades, because I've been in the fitness industry for almost 30 years now,
mm,
I see it every single day, and it makes me so sad every single time that people don't have the mindset for it. And they go, okay, well, all I care about is better abs. And what happens? They overdo it and they
mm,
don't enjoy the process or the journey at all. I'm eating boiled chicken. Oh, there was a pinch of salt on that. I'm not eating that. I got to wash it off. And it's like, oh my goodness, that's an obsession that is going to cost you so much. And you see these people, they walk around, I'm just so, and they wonder why their family doesn't support them.
mm,
My family doesn't understand. Actually, I think your family understands better than you do. I wouldn't support you either because you are so unhappy. And even worse, I've seen it over 1,000,000 times. When someone goes that hard, they rebound so brutally. We
mm,
screw up our hormones. And by the way, again, I'm not coming down on people. I have so much mercy. And one of the things I'm trying to do right now is save everybody else the heartache. Don't go way too far too quickly. It never, ever, ever works. So don't go from zero to hero trying to go from zero to hero overnight. It's not going to happen.
yeah.
One of my favorite concepts is baby steps.
Mm,
Baby steps will radically change your life. And there's so many studies that prove what I'm saying to be perfectly accurate. So if you're trying to lose a bunch of weight, you're like, yeah, but this time I'm really going to do it. I need to lose 20 pounds, 60 pounds, 100 pounds. Well, don't change everything by tomorrow.
mm,
Don't go from 0 workouts to 6 workouts per week, 0 hours to 12 hours per week, all the sugar in the world to 0 sugar. That is a recipe for 2 to 3 weeks of sadness, confusion, anger, resentment, and then right back to your old ways. Try changing just a little bit. You don't work out at all now? Okay, now you're going to do 2 workouts per week. That's it. I know you want to do more, but all I want is 2. It's not a radical life change. And then you're going to pull 2 bad meals out of your diet and switch them for good.
mm,
Just these little changes. They're sustainable. All
yeah.
these things equal long time doing it. It's consistency. You can't change almost anything in 3 weeks. Yeah, you lost 4 pounds or 5 pounds. How did it feel? And will you keep going? And don't say, no, this time I will keep going. I want to know your track record. Did you do it before? No? Then why is it going to be different this time? So don't give me that. Try it my way. My way works. And by the way, not to brag, but I have helped people across this planet lose over 7 million pounds of fat.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So how the heck did he help people across the world lose 7 million pounds of fat? Well, as you were growing your business, eventually you recognized, hey, I've got multiple locations, but maybe I need to start my own thing. And so January of 2005 is the beginning date of either the thought of the business or the business itself. So talk a bit about, taking that step and building your own supplements and own brand that way.
Awesome. And by the way, it was both because I'm a man of action. I had the thought on January 17th, 2005. The business started January 17th, 2005, and
Right.
it was in full swing. And I had the exact same conversation with myself. So this is why, I might sound repetitive, but this is going to be so valuable, people. This is such a great exercise. I sat back and I went, hey, I'm not making the money I want to make. I'm not experiencing the things I want to experience, and I'm not impacting the amount of people I know I could impact with the talents, with everything I've learned, with my wisdom, with everything that's been blessed into my life. Could be doing more. And it opened up my mind to say, what would that look like? And what it meant, I had to have my own brand.
Yeah.
And having my own brand, it started that day. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to do it my way. So knowing me, knowing my talents, my blessings, who I was and what I've learned, integrity was going to be everything. I focused on integrity in everything we did. And I also noticed there was a gap in the market with integrity. So many people were just putting out supplements quick. Hey, I'm going to use these hot button words because it's going to get some sales, but they never lived up to what they were supposed to do. And not my brand. We said, if we said it, it was going to happen, or we give you your money back. Because to me, that was integrity. And that was, that's almost 20 years ago now. But less than 2 years ago, I know I'm skipping to the punchline here.
Yeah.
I had a calling from God who said, a whole new chapter in your life is about to start. And then told me to sell my business, and I did. And it's just been such an amazing new chapter in my life. Now, one of the key things I'd love to highlight right this moment is for all the people who've been at a job for 10 years, 15 years, 25 years, and they just feel like, well, man, I'm not happy, I'm not enjoying it, but this is where I am. I'm comfortable. It would be so hard to start again, or whatever story you tell. Again, I just want to ask you, is that story serving you? And I like to think about this as like an actor. I was an actor when I was growing up, and I just loved acting. And I just thought, for 25 years, I've been playing the same role. I'm a cop in this great cop show, and it was amazing. I loved the role until I didn't. And when God said, hey, guess what? I got a new role for you to play. I was like, this is going to be amazing. Yeah, I'm going to be a lawyer or a bank robber or whatever. You know what I mean? I get anybody but a cop because I've been a cop for 25 years. And so this new chapter I am enjoying so much. He had me write a book. I've got a beautiful mastermind where I get to share with people, other entrepreneurs who are coming up, who are on this beautiful entrepreneurial path. I get to help them along the way. I get to be on TV shows. I get to be in all these magazines. Like, I am just having a blast doing what I'm doing, impacting people in a totally different way. Man, and I'm just embracing it. So my big question to everybody, if you feel stuck, what if you were to change things up? What if? What if you were to take the plunge again? And it doesn't mean you have to put it all on the table, risk everything. No, maybe start a side hustle today, just so you have something exciting going on in your life. And maybe that side hustle is one day going to turn into your full-time hustle. What would that look like? How much more freedom would that give you? And what if you got to do something you really love? What would that look like?
Now, as I hear you say that, the thing that just stands out to me is the perspective you have, right? Opposed to maybe defining yourself. And I think that happens, right? Hey, I've done this 20 years. Like, this is who I am. Like, this is the calling that I have. It's even gone really well for me, right? Like, hey, my business has done well. But there's that cruck in the road, right? That just gap there where you say, man, I'm not as happy as I once was doing this. I feel like there's something different for me, but this is what I know. It's given me a good lifestyle. Like it's hard to change away from. And the reality is it is hard to make a pivot. However, it doesn't mean that it's wrong to make a pivot. So how can someone have the confidence that you have making that pivot? Because I think what happens for a lot of people is maybe they talk to friends or they talk to family and they go, "You're crazy. Why would you do that?" Like, you've been building for this the last 20 years. Why would you decide to give all that up and go into this new realm or take on this new experience? But you had confidence walking into it. So talk a little bit about maybe the mentality or just the way once again, have as a perception of, all right, this is what I'm getting to do.
This is awesome. So I'm going to give you 3 points. Number one, if you want to learn about why I have the confidence I have and how to develop it, because by the way, I had zero for the first 15 years, zero confidence. It is a muscle that you can build and anybody can build it. All the secrets are in my book. I hate to make it sound like that, but man, it would take me a long time to go through it in one podcast.
Yeah.
So there it is. You want more confidence? I can help with that. Number two is this. I want to be really clear. I'm not the guy who's going, everybody should change immediately. No, if you are like, no, Marcus, like I'm pretty happy and we got a good life and et cetera, great. I'm not saying you should change. I say stay. So please don't hear it that way. However, if you're hearing this and you're hearing these stories and you're like, oh, I wish, man, I wish there would, I'm not content. I'm not fulfilled. I don't have real joy. I don't have real bliss. Then maybe you're supposed to be trying something new. And this is the big one. This is the start of it. Living in fear. And I don't mean just like, I'm so scared of everything. No, but I mean the fear of just having a small little world. Like, no, this is like the only job. This is the only place that would ever hire me and stuff. I love talking with people about this. Number one, when people say all the worst decisions I've ever made were under the influence of alcohol.
Yeah.
All the worst decisions I've ever made were under the influence of fear. When I let fear take over, and we all do this at times, but our world shrinks so small. When someone's like, no, this is the only job who would ever, I'm like, let me just make sure I understand this. How many jobs do you think there are in this world?
Yeah.
A couple hundred? Are there maybe 1,000? That's so tiny. There are more than 1,000 jobs in the area that I can throw a rock. Like that's how many jobs are out there. And now with the world being so tied into the internet, where you could literally do a job anywhere on the planet through Zoom, man, there are billions of jobs. B with a B. I don't care how old you are. I don't care your weight, your gender. There is a job right now vacant where they're going, you know who would be perfect for this? And then they describe you. They describe you to a T. Even someone, oh man, I wish, it'd be awesome. Someone came from a divorced family, because then they would understand blah, blah, blah. Then they'd have independence. Then they'd have, like, that's literally what's happening right now. So when you have an abundant mindset, which is just like, man, there are billions of jobs. Now your brain is open to it. And I want to give you just the quickest perspective shift. And this might be too much for people, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. And hopefully this lands with people. But when we say there are no jobs out there for me, your brain goes, okay, if you say so, I believe you. And your brain goes, hey, let me find some proof, by the way. Oh, did you see the news report today? It said unemployment's through the roof. It said more businesses are closing down than ever. I knew it. See, there's even less jobs. I know there's no jobs out there for me.
Yeah.
Your brain will not look. It will shut down and it will go, I've got it. I see it. We're staying right where we are. If you say, you know what, Marcus might be right. There might be billions of jobs out there. And there might just be at least one. By the way, I'm not saying there's one that's perfect for you. I'm saying there's probably tens of thousands that are perfect for you. Tens of thousands. All you got to do is keep your mind open to it. So now your brain goes, really? Oh my goodness. You know what? I found proof already. people are hiring in the blank space.
Hmm.
I love the new blank space. So you know what? I'm going to look into that a little bit. And you keep your mind open. Then you start having conversations. And this is how this stuff works. You know what? I started talking to this guy who runs a podcast in that space. And I asked him some questions. I went onto his Instagram. This is the coolest thing about podcasts, by the way, people. Podcasters like Phil are like, I want to build my podcast. He's doing this for us. He's not doing this for him, whether you believe that or not. Phil is out here putting in so much time and effort and love for you guys. So if you reach out to him on social media and go, hey, really enjoy your podcast. Question, I really liked blah, blah, blah. Would you put me in touch with them? He will do it. You have so many people at your fingertips right now who are on a path that you might want to be on. Look how easily these dots connect, but they don't if you're like, no, that's impossible. Okay, you're right.
I love that. And just as you're speaking, why it kind of kept reverberating through my mind was it's like the fear of the unknown versus the optimism of the unknown, right? Because people fear what they can't quite draw the picture of, but you could also have the perspective of, well, gosh, who knows what could happen if I, stepped into this opportunity? Who knows what amazing connection I could make if I just reach out to Marcus and get to have this conversation.
Brother, I love this. And let's give you a quick analogy here. Can you imagine if you have a child who's like 4 or 5 years old and they walk outside the front door and they go, oh, this world, it's so big, and that big ball in the sky is so bright. I shall go back inside and never come back out. Would you not be like, no, my child, you should be looking at it like that's actually the sun, and it gives us so much life. Feel it. Doesn't that feel good on your skin? Now, yes, the world is huge. That should excite you. You get to do so much out here. That's how we are as kids. We're naturally like that. And somewhere along the line, the world finally beat us into submission, and we go, yeah, you're right. No, I shouldn't do too much. I'll go back inside. That sun, you're right. It is bright. It does hurt. No. How about talk to yourself with that loving voice and go, my child, please go back out. There's so much world out there for you to discover. Have you discovered the world yet? Have you tried going to Japan yet? Have you tried going to Greece yet? They live differently. They eat differently. Well, what if you just tried it? Man, your life can change in an instant.
I love it. Now, we've been talking a lot about Marcus, physical changes, business changes, career changes. Well, one of the biggest changes for anyone that's ever gotten married is the spouse that you pick. So talk a little bit about it. And you guys strategically went to, kind of the world of social media and said, we don't necessarily want to portray, our family. This is more of Marcus, and it's not because you're hiding your family. It's just more so, hey, they don't need to be in a spotlight. But talk a little bit about how you and your wife met and what season you guys kind of entered into marriage and growth in your business.
I love talking about my wife, so thank you.
Get you some brownie points here. Not that you need them, but
Well, God blessed me with this beautiful woman just a few months before he blessed me with the great business. And we met at church, and it's funny. I tell this story in the book. It's one of my favorite stories. How my diet landed me the love of my life. And we had just casually met at this young adults event at church, and there was a hockey game going on, and it was time for me to eat. So I don't like to make a spectacle of myself. So I went into the back, into a dark area of the church. I could still watch the game, and I open up my cooler, and I'm sitting there just eating chicken. And she walks by, and she looks at what I've got. She goes, "Are you eating ice cream right now?" And I was like, I'm like, nah, I'm eating chicken. And she laughed, and we started talking. She's like, well, why are you eating chicken in the back of a church? And we had this conversation, which led to her going, I talked about being an entrepreneur. She's like, my dad's an entrepreneur, and we connected. And it was truly my crazy diet that got her hooked. And so see how you can own your crazy? You can say, hey, what makes me uniquely me is exactly what this world wants. and I will succeed because of my crazy stuff. This world needs Marcus to be exactly Marcus. There is a square hole for this square to fit perfectly in. But if I listen to social media and this world and say, no, smooth out your edges, make yourself a circle, it ain't going to fit into that square peg. So be yourself. Find out who yourself is. Try and be your authentic self and move into that every single day. Now, as far as my family on social media, yeah, I love that about my wife. She's just like, I don't like social media. I don't want to be on social media. She agreed to allow me once per year to post on our anniversary because I actually said to him, like, listen, I'm good with you not being on social media. But there comes a point, if you're never in any photos with me, now people are like, is he still married? Does he actually like her? So can I at least once a year? Now, for our kids, we just chose, they will go on social media when they're old enough to make that responsible decision for themselves. If you don't know how horrifying social media is for children, man, I encourage you, look it up. You need to understand what it's doing to their brains. I mean, adults can't handle what social media does to our brains.
Yeah.
Like, it screws up adults. Like, have you not ever spent hours thinking about that negative comment? Or hours wondering why I didn't get as many likes as I thought I should have gotten? For adults, what do you think that does to a child? It screws them up so bad. So my encouragement to you is learn it and communicate it to them, and then set really good parameters. So I don't want my kids on there. It's not just because of what it does to their brains in that way, but also, and more importantly, do you guys know how algorithms work? Now, I don't want to sound like I'm some sort of fear monger, and I don't want to sound like I'm a conspiracy theorist guy. This is proven by not just like weird websites. The algorithms, because they want to sell everybody on as much as they can, they want you all to fit into very specific funnels. So if you have a daughter that looks like mine and, oh, she's 14, 15 years old. Oh, she's blonde. Oh, she likes Taylor Swift. Here are all the other products that she should be loving. And we're going to start selling them to her constantly. And they will follow her around the internet. Hey, you haven't bought this yet. Hey, hey. And all of a sudden, she starts going, I don't even know why, but I really like such and such. Because she's been advertised constantly, it followed her. She's like, I just keep thinking about it. I must really like that. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it. And what happens? They all start becoming the same human being. They've all been whitewashed and turned into the same human being. I don't want my kids part of that. I don't know what that, I don't know the end to that story, but I tell you, it's not a good ending. So I'm going to keep my kids clean of that, and they get to decide who they want to be. They can make their own choices.
I love it. Now, Marcus, I mean, anyone that's been listening for this whole episode or knows anything about you just knows you are, to your point, you are you. And, you know, I think your story about meeting your wife is a perfect example of like, if I'm me, hey, once again, there might be people that think I'm just, you know, a weird, wacky guy, you know, whatever it is, but they're to the right person, I'm the right person, right? And that is just the way it is. And I think one of the things is just it's consistent, right? You talked about I wanted to start my business with integrity. I wanted to I mean, we haven't talked about this, but you've mentioned your faith life, and it's an integral part in how you run your business. Doesn't mean you ostracize people that don't have faith life, but it's important to you. And so I just think when you're the truest version of yourself, it's amazing how things seem to just continue to fall in place. Whereas when you try to be someone else, or when you try to do it the way a different company does it, but it doesn't sit right with you, it's hard. And I think back to the beginning with your sales experience of selling the smoothie and your brother saying, well, you kind of fit the role, right? Or, you know, starting to sell supplements. You said it was just something I was passionate about. So many people go do something for $1, but it's not something they're passionate about. It's not something that they believe in. It's not something that they themselves do. And it's just, you can see how it isn't quite working, right? And you're like, man, it's not going to quite fall into place. So talk just a little bit about, you know, being yourself and just continuously doing that. And it's amazing how, yeah, there's probably certain people along the way you could tell stories about that it just rubbed them the wrong way. They didn't come work for you. They didn't want to do business with you. However, you just kept going, and eventually there was the better fit of the hire that you didn't know was going to be coming down the pipeline. There was the better business partnership that ended up coming from it, that had you said yes to the previous one, you would have woken up unhappy a year later, right? Even if it made you money then. So talk a little bit about that in your journey.
Oh man, there's so many places I could go with this. And listen, for anybody who is here right now listening, I hope if you take nothing else from this episode, you take what I'm about to say.
Hmm.
You're not designed to be loved by everybody. Not everybody is going to love this Markus Kaulius. And I'm so okay with that, because I'm going to spend the time with the people who are designed to be attracted to me. Now, just to be clear, we're not just talking about yes men. I'm not surrounding myself by, oh, yes, Markus. Oh, Markus, you're the smartest. Oh, yes. No, I don't want that either. In fact, my favorite people are the people who really love me and are attracted to me and who I am, but then challenge me. And that is, oh, that's like a keeper. But I use this analogy a lot. I'm a specific type of tea. I'm a cup of tea that is a very strong cup of tea. It's not for everybody. Some people will taste this tea and go, oh, too hot, too cold, too much energy coming from this tea, too whatever. And the world is going, oh, we can fix that. Here, let's just water it down. Just add more water. And eventually people go, yeah, it doesn't really taste like anything. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. And there we are. We're not too hot. We're not too cold. We're not too spicy. We're not too anything. We're just okay. And I think that's where more than 99.9% of people live. So my argument and my encouragement to people is be your authentic self. And some people, you have to accept, some people are not going to like it. That's so okay. Who said you have to spend time with that person?
Yeah.
But you're going to find those people. It's just like finding a friend. Finding friends is not supposed to be like, oh, I have to work so hard to hang out with Phil. No, it's supposed to just be natural. Like, look at the conversation Phil and I are having, man. I like this guy. I genuinely like this guy. It's not like, oh, Rick, he's asking me about being an entrepreneur again. Are we going to be talking about this? Is awesome. That is how friendship is supposed to feel. This is how it's supposed to feel when you get to meet people. And some people, it's like, wow, I get to be myself. And Phil likes me being myself. He likes my real answers. I'm not going, oh, you didn't like that answer. Oh no, Phil, I don't know if you like a job, then stay with your job. Is that good? Like, some people will hate me and some people will love me. That's who I'm supposed to be around. That's who I'm designed to help. And my unique skill set and who I am will help them in a very profound and unique way. Not everybody. When you try to be everything to everyone, you are nothing to no one.
I love it. Well, Markus, we could do this for hours. I know you got things to get done, but last encouragement to everyone, go check out Play a Bigger Game. That's Markus's book. And once again, he's referenced it a couple of times, so we know there's going to be a bunch of gems in there. But Markus, I want to say thanks so much for your time today, sharing your story and your journey, and excited to just continue to watch you continue to crush what you're doing. And hopefully a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, we'll get to do this again and highlight all the different moments in those journeys at that point too.
I love this. Phil, thank you so much for all you're doing. I'd love to give you one last gift before I leave. Everybody listening, go give this podcast a 5-star review. It goes so far. It means a ton. Phil is putting in so much work, so much effort. This is not easy stuff. He makes it look easy because he's freaking awesome at what he does. It's going to take less than 2 minutes. Give him 5 stars. Say, this is an awesome podcast. Here's why. And more people are going to be drawn to it. And it's going to lift Phil up. It's going to fill Phil's bucket. And I would love to be part of that. So Phil, thank you so much. Everybody listening, thank you so much. Come find me on social media. Come find me at playabiggergame.com. If I am your cup of tea, you could spend time with me. I would love to spend time with you. I'd love to help you on your journey, encourage you, celebrate with you, help you to find more wins in life. There are so many wins in your life. I want to help you discover them. So come, get plugged in, hang out with me.